I realized everything had changed. Max Sturr used to be my wife Lana's fiancé. When he came back to town a year before we met, Lana and Max broke up after he decided to leave her and marry a wealthy woman 10 years older than him. She never hid the fact that he broke her heart. Lana and I started dating. Although she didn't have the glamorous looks of a movie star or a model's figure, she was incredibly attractive. She had a sweet face, brown eyes, and soft chestnut hair. But what truly drew me to her was her personality. A year or two later, we got married. And a few months after that, she gave birth to our daughter, Emma. Everything was good until Emma turned 18. Over our 19 years together, we had occasional disagreements, but nothing serious, until recently. Usually, arguments happened when we divided chores. As an only child, Lana had lacked attention from her parents, but over time she developed self-control over her stubbornness. Emma, our daughter, became my little princess the moment she was born. Our family was quite close, and we were especially tight-knit. But over the past year, Lana and I had drifted apart. I started noticing we were spending less and less time together. We made love at least twice a week, sometimes more, and our sex life was still great. When we held hands, Lana seemed genuinely happy. I felt her deep love for me. Things had changed, but Lana still enjoyed our life together. The fierce, passionate love we had when we first got married had faded. I still loved my wife and our shared life unconditionally, even if we were like an old pair of shoes, comfortable and perfectly matched. After Emma's high school graduation, Lana's changes seemed to accelerate. She looked like she was on the verge of a breakdown. Her anxiety grew as Emma's departure for college approached. At the time, I was in charge of 32 detectives at the sheriff's department, serving as chief of detectives. The job wasn't overly stressful due to the low crime rate in our county. Lana continued working as a dental hygienist. About a month after Emma left for college, Max came to a party hosted by a couple named Mark and Kelly, more Lana's friends than mine. Still, since Mark owned a security firm, we had things to talk about and got along well. Lana obviously knew Max would be there, I didn't. She started socializing and quickly distanced herself from me, which wasn't unusual. When I went to find her an hour later, she and Max were sitting on the porch. Lana's neck flushed crimson as she introduced me to Max. That was a serious red flag, if I trusted the instincts I'd developed. She pretended to be surprised by his presence and said they were just reminiscing about old times. But her neck turned red. I decided not to make a big deal out of it. During my time as a police officer, I had to handle many situations. But you're supposed to deal with them professionally and tactfully. Sometimes that's easier said than done. The next weekday after the party, I made a few inquiries about Max through my connections. A year earlier, I'd learned his wife had died of cancer. Over the years, Max hadn't even received a single traffic ticket, let alone committed any crimes. We met Max again a few months later, and since I knew it wasn't a coincidence, I began preparing for the worst. I expected Lana would want to talk to me about something. But no matter how ready I thought I was, Lana caught me off guard. I actually believed my fears might have been groundless. We had just shared a rare morning of intimacy. I could see that Lana still loved me as much as she always had. "Alex, I don't want to upset you, but I need to talk to you about something," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please wait until I'm done before you say anything." I felt a wave of nausea hit my stomach. "Max was my first love, as you know," she clarified. "We were engaged. After his wife died, he fell in love with Sophia, and we broke up. He's heartbroken. He feels so alone. I have to admit, I still love him. And he told me he still loves me. But I also love you." I stayed silent, doing everything I could to maintain my composure and steady my breathing. Lana smirked and went on, as if the admission had given her more courage. "I want to be with Max, but still remain your wife. After talking it over with Max, we agreed it would be fair if I spent 1 week with you, and the next week with him." I got up from the bed, got dressed, and left without a word. I shut the door behind me and headed to my office. Despite the look on my unshaven face, my secretary remained silent. I told her not to disturb me unless it was an emergency. I was alone. 4 hours, I sat in the dimly lit office, replaying my wife's words over and over in my mind. In my view, it was the most selfish thing she could have done. Lana wanted to have it all, and I understood that. But it was impossible. She had to make a choice herself. I got home around 5 p.m. I was furious. I tried to keep my composure, using all my years of police training to stay calm when I noticed Max's car in the driveway, but none of that training had prepared me for this. I found them sitting in the living room. In distress, Lana quickly got to her feet and approached me to kiss me, though I saw the pain in her eyes. And when I pushed her away, I didn't care. "We need to talk about this," Lana said tremulously. "There's nothing to discuss," I shot back. "I'm not trying to take her away from you," Max said. "All I'm doing is giving her the extra affection she needs. She will never refuse her marital duties toward you, even if we share her." The restrained fury was nearly boiling over. This arrogant guy had just told me that Lana lacked affection and that I should let her sleep with him. I felt sick to my stomach at both of them, and I realized that my marriage was over. Except for her marital duties, Lana had given up everything else. I cast a menacing look at Max. "No, I won't accept this." Alex's gaze told me clearly that the reason for her distress was me. This was going to happen, whether I was involved or not. That was the real question. "No. You both need to leave," I said. Lana started crying. "After so many years, Alex, please. Let me have him. I have been a devoted wife. I don't want to lose you, but Max was my first love. I love Max just as much as I love you." I smirked and turned to Max. "Tell me, Max, would you accept my proposal if it were your late wife coming to you with it?" "If it would make my wife happy," he nodded and smirked, "I would gladly accept." "Nonsense," I said more firmly than I intended. To drive my point home, I turned to Lana. "And what about you, Lana? How would you feel if I said I wanted you to share me with my ex-girlfriend when we get back home?" Lana pondered for a few minutes before responding. "In the end, I would accept it because I truly love you and want you to be happy. Though perhaps I would feel just as sad as you do right now." "More nonsense," I said, shaking my head. "In the morning, I'll contact a lawyer to start the divorce process. As I see it, dividing assets should be fairly simple. There's only a minor portion left on the mortgage for the house. We'll split the money after it's paid off. We'll also divide our current accounts, savings, and investments. Emma's college savings will remain untouched. Since you'll be living with the fool sitting right here, there will be no alimony. Get out, both of you." Max held Lana's hand as she sobbed furiously. She turned to me as they reached the door and said, "I love you so much. If you change your mind, you must be a part of my life." When they left, I felt the weight of silence in the house. Despite the emptiness inside, my years in the police force had taught me resilience. I shoved the pain into a box and locked it away. Then I headed to my office and began making a to-do list. I was sure which lawyer I would choose. Her name was Victoria Reed. She was known as a shark in divorce cases. Usually, she sided with wives, and impoverished husbands never knew what had hit them. Our paths had crossed many times over the years, and I had helped her when needed. I found one item on the list I still had to take care of. I had to call Emma and explain the situation. That broke my heart. It took Emma a full 5 minutes to calm down before I could explain what her mother was doing, just enough for me to truly understand it myself. What happened next surprised me. "So that's what that cheater did to you, Dad. You've been so kind to her and to us all these years, and now she stabbed you in the back," she said venomously. "I want nothing to do with her if she keeps this up." "I know you're very upset right now," I replied calmly to Emma. "But Lana is your mother. And she loves you unconditionally. Don't let this destroy your relationship with her. If you do, we all lose. Could you at least avoid speaking to her for a few days?" "What if she calls?" Emma asked. "I'll hand you the phone if she does. Please promise me you'll do this and not answer her for a few days." Emma reluctantly agreed to my request. Later that evening, Lana called me, deeply concerned that she couldn't reach Emma. I mentioned that our child was clearly upset and that I had already spoken to her about it before discussing it with either of us. "You turned her against me, I bet," Lana said. "You must have painted the most repulsive picture imaginable." "How could I make it worse than what you've already done, Lana?" I replied coldly. Her mother was trying to force her father to accept her affair. I decided to check something off my to-do list before Lana could respond. "Well, I guess you should hire a lawyer now that I've driven you to this point." Alex, please don't do this, Lana cried again. The fact that you want to remove me from your life is killing me. I love you unconditionally. Can't you make a small concession for me? There's nothing to discuss, I said and hung up. The evenings were awful, but I took time off work to focus on getting things organized. It was incredibly lonely lying in bed by myself. When I woke up in the morning, I instinctively reached for Lana, only to remember why she wasn't there. My first call was to Victoria Reed. To my horror, she informed me that Max had already contacted her. He was clever, he must have done his research and found the best divorce lawyer before I did. Well, I said, slightly annoyed. If I can't hire you, can you recommend someone? I can. Max reached out to me, Victoria said. He didn't retain you? I asked again. You already did, she informed me. With great relief I said. Alex, thank you so much for doing that. Most of the husbands in this town think I'm trash, she said bitterly. You're one of the few people who consistently treat me with respect. You've always genuinely tried to help me. I've always been grateful for that. I would never go against you. Thank you so much. But you're still going to be responsible for my fees, she laughed and added. You're important to me, but I still have to keep the lights on. Thanks again, Victoria. No problem, I replied. The phone call between Lana and Emma didn't go well, even after several days. Both of them claimed it turned into a screaming match full of insults. Afterwards, Lana called me nearly in tears and said she had lost her daughter forever. It was far more difficult than I'd expected, but I assured her I'd talk to Emma and try to fix things. A week later, I spoke to Emma. She was still furious. My daughter said she had told her mother she didn't want to have any contact with her, that Lana would never meet her future children if she had any, and that she wouldn't be invited to her wedding or graduation. Now I understood why Lana had been so upset. Right up until the day of the divorce, Lana kept calling. She repeatedly tried to convince me to change my mind and accept their arrangement. Naturally, I kept refusing. After the divorce, the calls stopped, and I tried to move on. I was glad to have my job as chief of the detective division. It gave me a pretty flexible schedule. Over the next 6 months, I became much more involved in the work, guiding junior detectives away from obvious dead ends. I could often save them time. I also started digging into our cold cases. Thanks to my efforts, a long-forgotten murder was solved. The culprit turned out to be the victim's ex-boyfriend. Although the evidence had always existed, it hadn't been considered decisive until now. I got a raise and a commendation. About a month after the divorce, Lana and Max got married. They wanted to buy out my share of the house, but I couldn't stand the thought of Max living there. Max threatened to take me to court to force the sale. Go ahead, sue me, I said. All the appraisers in town were acquaintances of mine, and they all agreed to help when I explained my situation. The valuations came in well above the actual market value. But Max didn't care. He bought the house at a ridiculously high price. It made me angry, but I was powerless to stop him. Despite this, I earned far more money on the deal than I expected. I was surprised at how smoothly the divorce went and grateful to Victoria for it. She found material that turned out to be useful. Thanks to her thorough analysis, my grandfather's inheritance, which had funded the initial down payment on the house, wasn't considered marital property. As a result, I received about 75% of the proceeds from the sale. I used the money to buy an apartment near work, paid in full. Life goes on, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt with Lana. She thought I wasn't good enough. Even more discouraging was my attempt to return to the dating world. Most of the women I met carried serious baggage. Nearly all of them were desperate to get married, and some were downright terrifying. One clearly didn't want marriage at all. That was a road I'd already traveled. About 8 months after Max and Lana's wedding, I was having lunch at a restaurant. I had no idea they were there until Lana sat down at my table. I decided not to show any resentment, although I was shocked to see my ex-wife again. Max was browsing the menu at a table on the other side of the room. When I looked up, "Alex, how are you?" "I'm doing okay," Lana asked softly. I gave her a sad smile in return. "And how are you?" "I still miss you every single day," she said, placing her hand on mine. "I still love you. I'd be happy to be with you again, if you ever find it in your heart to embrace Max." I was just about to back off when a thought struck me. Maybe I could get revenge on this guy by going through with it. But first, I needed to talk to Emma. Lana, I miss you too, I said. I admit it. Honestly, I hate waking up without you. But by the way, you're married now. I think your husband is probably looking for you. Lana looked at Max, who was staring at her like she'd lost her mind. She just nodded at him and stood up. Never forget that I still adore you. Later that evening, I called Emma and told her what I was planning. At first, she was shocked and accused me of giving in to betrayal. But when I told her why I wanted to do it, she started giggling. Then she laughed out loud. That's just amazing, Dad, Emma finally said. Go for it. With my daughter's blessing, I called Lana. I told her I wanted to talk the next day and said, I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday. So have I, Lana replied. She sounded happy, and we agreed to meet at our old house at 7 p.m. I arrived right on time. Lana brought me into the living room. The sight of Max sitting on the couch in my old home was unpleasant. Still, the annoyed expression on his face gave me a flicker of joy. Lana had set this up to include Max, and I realized that right away. He was throwing dagger-like glances at me. I pretended not to notice. Lana poured each of us a cup of coffee and then sat down between Max and me on the couch. I made my position clear. What did you mean when you said we still had a chance to share? I asked. A smirk appeared on Lana's face. Yes, the deal is definitely still on. I still love you deeply, like I said before. And I adore Max too. I tried to look hesitant. Well, if you don't mind. I'm willing to agree. I don't have anyone in my life right now, and at least this way I can spend time with you. Without you, I've felt incredibly alone. Lana rushed to me and gave me the most passionate kiss we'd ever shared. I'm the happiest woman in the world, thanks to you, Alex. Hold on, Max said, rising to his feet. We haven't talked about this yet. This is exactly what you suggested, I said calmly to Max. Yeah, but we still need to discuss it first, he said nervously. We already discussed it before, Lana said. Max looked a little stunned by her response. When did we talk about this? He asked, his cheeks turning red. Remember, we talked about it before you proposed to me? You said you'd be happy to share me, Lana said. Max was speechless at his own words. He couldn't stop what was happening. Still, he wasn't ready to give in so easily. In my opinion, we still need to talk it over, he said. The thought of exposing Max's hypocrisy danced in my head. He'd offered me this deal himself, but now it was different. I was the ex-husband, and he was the current one. Still, I decided not to interfere in the drama between Lana and Max. All right. I'll go and wait for your answer, Lana. Before driving away, I kissed her. I started laughing uncontrollably. With that fool, I had completely switched roles. Now he was the one squirming. That night, my only regret was that I couldn't be a fly on the wall. The next day, Lana contacted me and said Max was very upset, but he agreed after she told him she was going to leave. Lana would stay with Max 1 week, and with me the next. Naturally, Max insisted I take an STD test before anything happened. I agreed, on the condition that both of them take one too. Max wasn't happy, but Lana didn't object. In the end, we all tested clean. The following week, I picked Lana up. When she appeared at the door, she looked absolutely stunning. Max, on the other hand, looked like he was considering murder. I lifted Lana in my arms and kissed her gently. After loading up her 2 suitcases, we drove off. I wanted to make the night unforgettable. After dinner, I took her dancing. Then we went back to my apartment. When we were alone, Lana was very emotional. Oh God. Alex, I missed you so much. There's nothing I adore more than you. I surrounded her with tenderness and care, spending the evening making her feel valued and loved. As we cuddled and got close, I murmured how stunning she was. Our reunion reminded us of our connection. Every touch was gentle and filled with love. I want to feel close to you, she whispered softly. It gives me hope that I still matter to you. I couldn't deny myself this moment, despite the complicated feelings I had for Lana. We found harmony. She had another moment of happiness. And before I allowed myself to relax, after lying in each other's arms, I quickly dozed off and felt an unusual sense of peace. I woke up that morning to the soft brush of her fingertips. Her gentle touch and the warmth of her body filled me with a calm energy that stayed with me throughout the day. She smiled and kissed me after we shared another tender moment together. Despite everything that had happened, that moment felt special, rare even, given the circumstances. I understand that some might judge me for sharing that intimacy with her, but in that moment, it felt right. I was sleeping with Max's wife, and I couldn't bring myself to feel guilty. The week passed in a blur of laughter and ease. Lana was firm when I told her she could stay home if she wanted. I had to go to work. For that week, she was my wife again. If it made her feel better to think I approved of all this, I didn't object. What mattered to me was that I was having an affair with Max's wife. She cooked, did the shopping, cleaned the house, and did my laundry. We didn't even argue. I was having fun, pure and simple. I'd managed to convince Emma to talk to her mother. Of course, she was aware of my plan, and I had a feeling she enjoyed seeing just how clueless her mom really was. Max looked both pleased and annoyed when I dropped Lana off at their house. He managed to keep his anger in check while I was around. He kissed Lana passionately, while I simply kissed her on the cheek and whispered, "I love you," before turning and walking away. Over the next few months, our arrangement continued to work. I have to admit, I thought it was brilliant. After our divorce, sex became something of a triumph, especially because she was the one who suggested it. Now, we were making love 6 or 7 times a week. Another unexpected bonus of the arrangement was that I managed to convince Emma to come back home and spend some time with us. I'm not sure if she did it because she found the whole situation amusing, or if she just missed her mother. About 2 months into the deal, I was checking in on 3 of my detective team's working crime scenes around the city. Then I heard a dispatch call on the radio. There was a disturbance at the Mix Tavern. I decided to handle it myself since I was just a block away. When I arrived, I saw there had been a fight involving a drunk patron. To my surprise, the drunk was Max. I waved off 2 officers and approached him myself. Taking him by the arm, I said, "I'll take you home." "Alex, I don't need your help," he grumbled. "Your choice, spend the night in jail, or let me drive you home. What'll it be?" He reluctantly agreed. We didn't say a word during the entire drive to my former home. When he got out of the car, the only thing he muttered was, "Screw you." By the 4th month, Max had clearly grown tired of our agreement. He and Lana fought more and more often. Lana couldn't understand why I didn't get involved in their arguments, but it was obvious Max wanted everything to end. I kept telling Lana how amazing she was and gave her the emotional connection she craved. Compared to when we were married, this new arrangement allowed us to be together far more often. Around the 5-month mark, everything started to unravel. I arrived to pick up Lana and found her and Max yelling at each other in the front yard. I decided to step in and try to calm things down. "You two should take a breath," I said with a smirk. "Someone might call the cops." "Screw off," Max roared, then turned back to Lana. "If you go with him, we're done." Lana responded with an edge in her voice. "We had an agreement, Max." In all the time I'd known Max, I'd never heard Lana speak to him with even a hint of love. "This is a terrible deal," Max shouted. "If you go with him, it's over between us." "This is ridiculous," Lana said with scorn. "The whole idea of sharing came from you in the first place." With that, Max stormed into the house and slammed the door behind him. I looked at Lana with a curious expression. "He's just having a bad day," she said, taking my hand. "He'll get over it. Everything will go back to normal." "Nothing's going back to normal. Max is gone. He said it's over." Lana tried to talk to him, but Max stood his ground. On Wednesday, she called me in tears. "Alex left me. Can I come live with you?" "Of course. When my week ends on Monday, I'll come get you," I said happily. "But Max already left," she said, her voice trembling. "I want to come back to you completely. I see now what a huge mistake I made. His idea of shared living, it was nonsense, meant to ruin us. I want things to be the way they were." "You're the one who asked me to share you," I said, pretending to be ashamed. "I've gotten used to you being a part-time wife. You never wanted me as a full-time husband. Do you still want me to come pick you up? Because I'm not sure Max leaving really changes anything." Lana began sobbing uncontrollably. Then suddenly, she went silent. For a moment, I thought she had hung up. But then the crying resumed. Eventually, after several tries, she managed to speak, though her words came out jumbled and barely coherent.